That is an impossible question, Maya. I don't know. So, I actually inherited the organ. Got it completely free because my roommate at the time, Bertie Eldridge, was a music major, and he got COVID a couple years ago and wasn't able to use any of the practice rooms in VLR. Like, he had a recital coming up, so he sent this plea to somebody at Health Alert, and he was like, please, can someone just escort me to VLR? I'll wear a mask, I'll wear gloves, whatever you need, I just have to play piano. And then 2 days later, Dan Reed and Dan Del Russo showed up with the organ and moved it into our tiny Ocean View apartment. And Brody played it before his recital and then didn't touch it ever again. So it's just sitting in there, and I love trying out new instruments and new ideas with new instruments. So I really just kind of went deep and taught myself all the parameters on it, all of its functions, and then just how to play the organ a little bit. Not very good, but it's a lot of fun. On the back of it is actually a list of all the people who have had it before. I think it was originally somebody's grandpa's, and then it somehow ended up at PBA, and it's just been going around from apartment to apartment. A musical exercise that I like to do is I just tell myself, play exactly how you're feeling right now. Just whatever notes, minor, major, some combination of the two. Just play your emotions right now. And sometimes it's really simple and just a happy little ditty. And sometimes it's I'm sitting here for an hour just pouring my heart out into the organ, which sounds like it can get such a full, complete sound. It's really beautiful. Growing up in Miami, I really, I had my driver's license, and I ended up buying a car from my neighbor later on. But everything was so close that it always felt kind of silly of me to drive. And there was a bike shop a couple blocks away that me and my dad would go to. My dad is a huge cyclist, and my grandpa was actually a huge cyclist too. So I kind of grew up riding bikes, but never got super into it until COVID, because all of Miami shut down. So I was taking my bike on the highway and taking pictures and stuff, and it was really cool to just see how much of a ghost town Miami became. But I actually ended up buying that bike from the owner of the bike shop after it had closed. So we were so sad. Shout out Bike Nerds. It had a good run. But then after it closed, me and my dad stayed friends with the two mechanics / owners, Thomas and Diego. And Diego had posted that bike on OfferUp, and I saw it looking for another bike. So I texted him right away. I was like, Diego, please. And he was like, honestly, Jonas, it means so much that it's going to someone that will ride it, is into bikes and the Miami bike scene, and it's just become my daily commuter. I ride it to work, I ride it to the beach, but I also just ride it for fun. We'll do laps around the island, or climb parking garages on it, and it's just such an outlet for me. It's so freeing to be able to go wherever you want to go at whatever speed you want to go, and just I don't know, there's something really liberating about riding a bike. It's just such a good mental reset for me. I really get into this meditative space, and just, I don't know, can't get enough of it. So shout out bikers, shout out Diego, appreciate you guys. I love this bike. This is my dinosaur. I found it when me and my good friend Luca were exploring an abandoned building that we found in the middle of the woods. And it really felt like we were gonna die in a horror film, but we didn't. And I think it was a summer camp lodge, because we found all this weird kids activity stuff, and there was just this dinosaur sitting in the middle of the room, and it looked very haunted. It still looks haunted, if you look at its face, but I don't know, I love it. It's just great. It sits on top of the organ. That's its home. It doesn't have a name. Maybe it should. Maybe it shouldn't. This is a little magazine called New York Ray Flyers Volume 2, 1990 to 1995. It has some fantastic illustrations. I got it from a tiny magazine store, which it's amazing a place like that still exists, down in Miami called Zine. Super cool people, super fun little store. And I don't know, there's something special about having like a little coffee table conversation starter that's purely visual. Like you can just flip through this entire thing in a minute and see all the illustrations, or sometimes I'll just sit down and like go over them and read some of these flyers. Because it's such a culture that I'm so far removed from. Like I've never been to a rave in New York or in the 90s, so it's kind of neat to just like get a little glimpse, like a little taste of that, and have it sitting on my coffee table. Yay!
This is my first object. It is a box of page nibs. So basically, you can put these on a page to keep the page number. But the reason why it's important to me is because it's from a dear friend. Her name is Carolyn, and she is 79 years old. And I met her when I was doing an open mic at a coffee shop that she was emceeing. And she became my friend right after that. So we've been good friends for like 4 years, and she loves whenever we meet up for coffee just to read to me. And she reads me all of her favorite books, just random parts of the book. And this is how she keeps track of all of her favorite pages, just little gems of wisdom that she likes to share with people. So one day she gave me her page notes to keep track of just pages where I find words of wisdom or encouragement or things that stick out to me. And anytime she gives me a gift, her one rule is that I can never ask, "Are you sure?" Because I always go, "Are you sure?" And so that's her one rule, I can never ask, "Are you sure?" But it always reminds me of Carolyn, and it reminds me of the time she's read to me. So yeah, it's my first object. This is a llama. As you can tell, his name is, well, you wouldn't be able to tell this, but you could tell it's a llama. But this llama's name is Chicken. And the reason that this llama's name is Chicken is because 6 9-year-old girls decided his name was Chicken, and it stayed like that ever since. So it was my first week being a camp counselor at Camp Adrahaji, and I always tell a bedtime story every week, but it has to progress throughout the week. So we start, and then we leave it on a cliffhanger, and then we leave it every night on a cliffhanger, and then it progresses. So this was my very first story I told about a llama named Chicken, who was very left out because his name was Chicken. But then he fell in love with a lady llama named Quesarito, and they got married, and they were Chicken Quesarito. Yes, it was a hit, and then now it's my go-to story to tell, and now he lives in my car, so everywhere I go, so does Chicken. This is my third object. It's my favorite children's book. It's called The Rabbit Listened, and it seems kind of more like a lighthearted, silly object, but it actually is very sentimental to me, because back to the summer camp that I worked at, we had a missionary speaker come. It was my friend's mom, and she read this book to us, and it was definitely God's timing that she read this book to us, because basically this book is about a little boy who is building a tower, and then he knocks it down, and all of these animals come and they try to comfort him with how they would want to be comforted, or how they think he would want comfort, and it's never what he actually needs. All he needs is just someone to listen, so that's what the rabbit does. And that week I had a 9-year-old girl named Gabby share some very tragic things with me, and the rabbit was just in my brain of like, what would the rabbit do? And it's just listening, just letting the Holy Spirit be the comforter through me, and just sit and listen. And now whenever someone is coming to me with concerns or worries, I think about the rabbit. So yeah, it's my third object. It's a violin. Just kidding, it's a guitar. And her name's Cordelia, because I thought it would be really funny to make her name a pun, Cordelia. It's pretty funny. And I got Cordelia when I turned 11 for my 11th birthday, and Cordelia has a lot of sweet memories, mostly like playing worship at campfires and having guitar lessons on Sunday mornings with our neighbor up the street named Marty, who would come and teach me guitar, and then we'd all go to church, and his son was like my childhood best friend. So yeah, Cordelia has been many places, to Honduras and up very tall mountains that were very difficult to climb with Cordelia on my back, and to the beach. And yeah, I am thankful that God gave me music and that I'm able to sing and worship through guitar. So yeah, this object's very special to me. Wow! That doesn't have to be in there.
This is my first object of meaning. So this is a bowl that symbolizes a lot, you know? It has a little crack here. It's got some character now, but it still works. And so it was probably the first bowl I ever owned as a human, because I moved out for a summer. What is it? Like a year after high school, I did this internship, and I got to do everything on my own for the first time. And I went and bought one bowl, one plate, one set of silverware, along with the other guys that I was living with. We all kind of did that and just figured out how to live life. And yeah, and then I kept using it and had it around, and I moved back to my parents for a little while because that was just like an internship. It was over, but then when I moved back out, I dusted it off, came back out, and it still holds up. So object number 2 is this skateboard that I bought off my friend for $10 in 6th grade. He was a big skater, and then he was kind of coming out of it, I guess, or just got a new board, whatever the situation was. And then me and another friend of mine were wanting to get more into it and stuff, and so I bought this off him. And me and my other friend, we'd go riding around, and yeah, we were crap. I couldn't ollie, so I couldn't do anything really. But it was fun. It was some good times. Eventually, it went back into my closet because, you know, can't ollie, can't really skate. But I ended up breaking it back out once I was here for college, and there was a lot of distance between classes, and you got to get there pretty quick. It's hot outside, and you know, you see other people with longboards and stuff and such. And it's a good mode of transportation, so I brought it back out and I put some longboard wheels on it, and it was great. And it's just been a fun board too. And my third object is this little USB powered light up guitar that is interesting. It's not a very typical object, but it has a significant story, which I was adopted at a young age, and when I got older, I found out that I had a couple of sisters somewhere in the world, or at least half siblings, whatever the situation was. And then once I got older and I could access like birth certificates and stuff, I went looking for them, and we eventually found each other, and we met up one year, got in contact, and it was during Christmas one time. They both happened to be, they aren't from Florida, but they happen to be nearby. And we met up, went to Clematis, Sandy Tree, and the following, just like a few months later, was my birthday, and one of them got this and had it sent to me. and it's strange because like these people that you don't really know, but there's a weird connection. But also like they knew that I was a musician and stuff, and so they got something that seemed meaningful, and yeah, it was strange, but a very thoughtful and